Thank you, Samiran, for that detailed discussion and outline of the next round. We now turn to the important question, which is the heart of today's discussion. Should you apply for a dot brand in the coming ICANN round? The decision to pursue a broad dot brand decision is both strategic and long-term. It requires you to understand the benefits you get out of the program. So no better than Stuart Fuller, who was involved in the first round and has been advising brands for the past 13 years now on how to leverage their online presence and what are the best TLDs they could use. So I'm handing over to Bob. Oh, sorry, handing over to Stuart.
Cool, thank you. Great, thank you, Vinny. Thank you, everybody. My name's Stuart Fuller. I'm from an organisation called Laude. We are a global corporate registrar. And as you'll see over the next few slides, we've got quite a lot of experience in the whole dot brand area that enables us to give some quite good advice to anyone who's thinking of applying for the first time or has a TLD already and doesn't quite know what to do with it. So, let me start by introducing Cum Laude. We're 21 years old. In terms of registrars in the world today, we're probably a teenager. There's people that have been there longer than us. There's new kids coming onto the block. But we've always been a corporate registrar. In 2024, in March 2024, we were acquired by a private equity firm called PX3. Part of the reason why they acquired us was because of the opportunity of the second and hopefully subsequent new GTLD application rounds. We are headquartered in London and we have offices across the globe, so in Japan, Spain, Seattle, and various spots in the UK, where we have 90 people. Just 91, I believe. We've got one new person starting today. Our strength is the experience our team have. So we have people that have been in senior domain positions at the BBC, at Unilever, at Microsoft, at Amazon, at VeriSign, as well as other corporate registrars. And that enables us to provide the best advice to over 600 clients around the world. Some of those clients are up here. This is just a sample of them. 4 of the 5 biggest US tech companies use our services. We have global leaders in every single area. A lot of these organizations applied for a dot brand in round 1, and a lot of these organizations will apply in round 2. Our footprint enables us to deliver services across the globe. And where we don't have coverage, we use strategic partners. So, for example, we have our partners in Australia and who cover Australia and Southeast Asia, BrandSec. Here in India, we're really lucky to work with Vinay and Vivek and their team with L.R. And then in South and Central America, we work with an organization called Digifort. The rest of the world, that's where my team work helping clients. So, industry expertise. This is what we do. In round 1, we had a 100% success rate. Every single application we put in was successful, and we did over 120 applications for our clients. Now, one of those, which I'm going to come on to a minute, you may think, oh, hang on a minute, that was quite a well-known one, that was quite contentious. But ultimately, it was successful, and it was successful through the skills of our team. We're seen as thought leaders in the dot brand and TLD space. So it's not just myself who's out here talking. I have a really, really strong set of colleagues who know a lot of the things that brands need to know. In round 1, a gentleman called Nick Wood, who's the founder of Cum Laude, who's still one of our executive directors, he founded something called the Brand Registry Group. If you apply for a dot brand, then you are entitled to join the Brand Registry Group. And the Brand Registry Group is a constituent part of the stakeholder model within ICANN. It is specifically designed to give brand holders a voice at the ICANN table. So these are some of the brands that we worked with in round one. The brand that I was referring to about there was some contention, I don't think it's any surprise to say it's Amazon. The reason being is Amazon is possibly one of the most recognized brands in the world. It's possibly also one of the most recognized geographical regions in the world. So consequently, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, a lot of discourse about whether Amazon should be allowed to own .Amazon. And this is where the Cum Laude team worked really hard behind the scenes. It worked with ICANN, it worked with the Brazilian GAC representatives, and eventually a way was found forward. And so Amazon is a live TLD today. So where we're working with brands that aren't quite sure as to whether they can apply for something, whether there could be any risks, this is where our team provides the real skill and specialist interactions. So, for this briefly, the previous session, but I just want to focus on this from a .brand point of view. So what is a .brand? So a .brand is what's appearing after the right of the dot in the domain name that's related to a brand or a trademark. So in this case here, Acme will own a trademark for their term, and that entitles them to apply for a .brand to match their trademark. So in this case here, they've gone from acme.com to home.acme. This is an interesting question, and we're often asked this. This is sometimes by some people within the industry who don't necessarily believe why we should need more TLDs. So if we go back to 2012, these were the reasons that we saw why there needed to be more TLDs. And a lot of these have followed through to where we are today as to why there should be another round. We want to enhance competition and innovation. As was mentioned in the previous conversation, there was something like 210 TLDs available prior to 2012. If you were a new business that was formed in 2008, 2009, 2010, it was impossible back in 2011 to register a 4-character .com. There were none available. You could buy them in the secondary market, but there were none available. 98% of 5-character .coms were taken back in 2011. So consequently, what was happening is there was a very strong secondary market where people could go and buy and sell domains, but it didn't feel particularly fair for those organizations that wanted to invest, wanted to grow their digital presence, that they were effectively being locked out of some markets. So a new GTLD round brought competition, brought innovation. It expanded customer choice. People had more choice of what TLDs they could go for. It allowed multi-language internet access. You know, the introduction of internationalized domain names and local language script. Secure and stable future growth by putting some of the security capability, accountability and responsibility into third-party hands actually enhanced the secure and stability of the internet. And certainly coming into a second GTLD round where everyone is thinking about cybersecurity, this is going to be absolutely key. And finally, we introduced new rights protection mechanisms for brand holders. So you may be aware of DPML, you may be aware of Global Block, or the Adult Block, or even XXX. All of these things were introduced from 2011 onwards. And they enable brand holders to protect their intellectual property as the internet expands. So from a .brand point of view, why? You're a successful business, you've grown your organization, you've got an online presence. Why do I need a .brand? Really good question. They're not cheap, as we know, but the value they give is incredible. It gives you the ability to improve customer engagement. It gives you the ability to curate customer journeys through your website and your digital presence. it allows you to own that digital space. You can spin up domain names at a moment's notice. You can take them down. You get huge amounts of data about the customers who are coming to your website, more so than you really do today with simple analytics. Your company remains competitive in the biggest market in the world, the digital market. You're able to create new products, new services, new marketing campaigns, and get the benefit from the SEO that they provide, because you're creating, or you can create, exact match domains. There is nothing more powerful in terms of SEO than exact match domains. And then finally, you can integrate dotBrands into your overall domain strategy. Not just your domain strategy, but your intellectual property strategy as well. So what I want to do is very quickly is just cover some few facts and figures from how we sit today. So as of last Thursday, when I pulled these numbers together, there was 29,970 something domains registered by dotBrand holders. So we'll call it 30,000. Nobody's going to moan about that. There are 450 delegated top-level domains that are dotBrands. So originally there was about 600 applied. There's a number dropped out for a number of reasons. A number of big organizations have actually withdrawn their application. Some of them, are still quite head-scratching. So for example, Hilton, owned .Hilton. There's so many use cases for a .Hilton, and they decided they would not go ahead with that application, which was crazy. There are 77 of those 450 that I would consider to be active. And by active, it means they have more than 5 domains registered. So actually, if you think about the fact that we've got about 1,200 top-level domains around today, only 77 brands are active. Now, there are some standout brands that are really using their TLD. So the ones on the right-hand side are the biggest users. So DVAG, I won't even try to pronounce what DVAG stands for. They are a German car and home insurance company. They've registered over 7,000 dotBrands. Alfinance, another German company, another financial services company. Audi, obviously everyone's familiar with Audi. MMA is a French insurance company. And Leclerc. I'm going to talk about Leclerc in a minute, because what they're doing is really unique. The main use cases that are being used is localization. So what we mean by localization, let's take an example being Lamborghini. If you want to search for a Lamborghini and you're here in Bangalore, you can search Bangalore Lamborghini. Now, if there is a Lamborghini dealership here, the chances are Lamborghini have that registered. Exact match domains. You will go straight away, Bangalore Lamborghini. You'll be on their website. So localization is used by a lot of the big brands. Security and trust. You control what content is onto your websites. You control what domain names are registered. You control who can and can't see specific pages on your website. You have total control using the dotBrand. You can protect online transactions. You can build the highest level of security into your websites, and I'll give a couple of examples very shortly. So in terms of India, we spoke about this previously. At the moment, or as of last Thursday, there was 193 domain names registered by Indian dotBrands. The majority, the vast majority, is through State Bank of India. So there's a huge opportunity within the Indian market, and this is one of the reasons why we're here, and one of the reasons why we're talking to you, because of this opportunity. So let me walk you through a couple of case studies. The first one is one of the biggest French banks, BNP Paribas. And BNP Paribas were the first brand to create a specific website using a dotBrand for their online banking. So they set the standard, they set the security protocols. They have over 8 million customers today, and every single one accesses their online bank using a .brand TLD, Mabonk.BNP Paribas. But not just that, they are now moving all of their domain names and all of their customer-facing websites onto that Mabonk. Example, Group BNP Paribas. We are Tennis.BNP Paribas. They're a big sponsor of the French Open. And we love cinema. Again, it's a promotional thing they do for their customers. They give away free cinema tickets. So their use is really, really interesting, and they migrated very, very quickly onto that platform. Microsoft was mentioned in the previous conversation. Now, we were very fortunate, we're very lucky. Microsoft is one of our clients. So during the first round, Microsoft applied for 8 TLDs. Some of those brands, they use still actively, others they don't. So, for example, they own .Skype. Skype has been sunsetted. But Microsoft, it took them a few years to work out what they wanted to do. And their case study is twofold. The first is, if you want to access any of Microsoft's apps through 365, so if you want to get onto SharePoint, if you want to get on to Notes, if you want to get on to Excel, Word, and you want to use the app version, you actually go now to m365.cloud.microsoft. Everything points to that page. The first thing they did, they consolidated all of their products, all of their apps under one TLD. The second thing they did, and this is something that you won't see, is they use Microsoft or .Microsoft to secure their internal infrastructures. They use it for internal routing, internal addressing. So they have quite a lot of domains registered, but to the outside, you'll never see them work. But for them, it works fantastically. And we're very fortunate to work with their head of domain security, Cole Quinn, for a number of years in helping him educate the Microsoft team and bring their plans to fruition. When I presented in Mumbai on Monday, I had hoped at the very moment I was putting this slide, this would be Ben Stokes celebrating victory in the third test. Alas, the Indian 9th and 10th wicket partnerships delayed that by about 3 hours. A fantastic test match, unbelievable test match. This is Sky. So Sky are the UK's biggest broadband, mobile, and home TV provider. They own Sky.com, but they actually have moved the majority of their corporate functions under Group Sky.Sky. They actually today launched, I saw, AI.Sky, and that's for some of their new applications. Their plan eventually is to move their online streaming under streaming.sky. Now, in order to do that, they have to build several layers of security, which is something they're doing. And part of what they're potentially looking at doing is using the .sky in terms of authentication and validation of the data. AWS, really good example. Amazon Web Services. This is their core website. You can go on there and very quickly you can work out how much hosting will cost using calculator.aws. Really simple, easy to remember, very, very high in terms of SEO score and SEO ranking. Barclays is one of my favorites because I was involved in their journey from 2010 when they decided we're going to apply for .Barclays. And so for 2 years before the application, we spent a huge amount of time with the likes of Drills, their CISO, their head of branding, their head of marketing, as to how they were going to use .Barclays. They decided very early on they would not use it for their online banking platform. So even today, to get to their online banking platform, there's a little tab at the top. That would take you to banking.barclays.co.uk. But every other site that they use is on .Barclays. Now, the other thing that Barclays did, and Barclays are, they have the whole industry, the whole .brand industry has Barclays to thank for this. They were the first brand to really migrate from a .com. And they did it. It was in May 2015. They went live, all of their SEO disappeared. Because nobody thought about the fact of, hang on a minute, what happens when you move from this domain, which is a .com or whatever, to this new domain? And so for 2 weeks, we spent a lot of time working with Google. And what we did is we've created, Barclays and Google created a plan. So now there is a plan that any .brand who is going to migrate from a .com or a .co.uk or a .in onto a .brand, there is a set of steps that you would go through with Google so that your SEO ranking, your search rankings would not be impacted. And that's really important because one of the biggest things that people talk about is, yes, but what about my search rankings? There is a process. There's some other more simplistic cases that people use it for. So help desk, promote customer experience. Saxo, a Danish investment bank. You can go onto their help page. You can ask a question. This is one of their AI engines. So they're using help.saxo for that. A lot of organizations put their annual reports there. It's about consistency. So if you want to get one of Deloitte's annual reports and you want to look at it from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, annual report, it's all the list there. Choose what you want. The Shell one is really, really interesting. This is something that we would call lift and shift. And what this happened with Shell was that Shell were very concerned of the impact of the conflict in Ukraine. And because of the nature of their business and the regulation they're in, they have to have local language websites in every region that they operate. So they had to have a website in Ukraine. But they were worried that there could be an impact on the Ukrainian registry and the Ukrainian registry servers. So what do? They switched. As opposed to having shell.ua, they had ua.shell. They replicated the content. So if there ever was a problem with the UA infrastructure, very quickly, ua.shell is available. Guys, they use it for all their sign-ons, job pages, and there's a few organizations that are now fully adapted and adopted using their .brand for email. GMX, it's a German ISP, Canon, GoDaddy, all use them for their email. A simplified customer experience. Now, I put this up here because this is, I wanted to make a point about why people would look at a .brand. So, JMart, I'm sure this is a brand that most people have heard of. To get to Nutella, everyone's favorite hazelnut-based spread. This is your URL. That's it. So for those who can't see, the URL is jmart/p/groceries/Nutella hazelnut spread with cocoa, 12 35 ounces, 160958174. Doesn't really roll off the tongue. But you know what, if they had a .brand? Nutella.jmart. Bang! Easy. Search for it online. Does Jmart do Nutella? Nutella, Jmart. Yes, there it is. So that's one of the examples as to a .brand, how it can be used for this. The other one is about simplified customer experience and user experiences. So a lot of people use URL shorteners. The most popular URL shortener in the world is bit.ly. Now, if you want to convert your URLs for your public, for your customers, for your potential customers, and get them to click on a link that is a Libyan CCTLD, go for it. Remember, the internet is built on trust. You don't actually know what you're clicking on with a bit.ly. You have no idea. You have a .brand, you can use your .brand as your short instead of bit.ly. Zara used go.zara. Philips used 2.philips. City use on .city. It's a really, really powerful thing. I think there was 2 other slides in the presentation. Yeah, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. I can talk about those later. I can talk about one. There's one example that wasn't up there that was for Leclerc. So Leclerc is a French retailer, and what they've done is they've built their whole digital channel using the Leclerc. And the idea behind it is that they are able to provide specific user experiences. So if you're looking for photos or you're looking for camping equipment, they have specific sections within their website that's all driven to that. They also have the ability for clients to log in using an Leclerc identification, and obviously all their online transactions are secured by their own digital infrastructure. So, what should you be doing today? So let's say you're thinking about a .brand. And you're thinking, okay, we know the application period is opening in April next year. It's not long. It's not long at all. So what do you need to do? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand, can you apply? Is there anything stopping you applying? Is there any reason why there could be a risk in you in applying? I'll give you an example. We're working with a big US tech company, and their brand is the name of a region in South America. It's like, this is Amazon again. It's not. This is another brand. But the problem with Amazon was that this work wasn't done ahead of time with Amazon. And so consequently, 8 years it took to sort this out. And I know that Vivek is going to give another really good example of this. But in this case, we're able to head off the problem. We're able to go and have the conversations with the necessary government officials within the GAC as part of ICANN to head off any situations. So awareness is about understanding whether you can apply and to build that internal plan, to get the stakeholders on side, to get the people around the table. You then need to understand the value proposition. How do you get value from your .brand? And remember, value is not just measured in pounds, shilling, rupees. It's about the value. It's about customer increase. It's about lowering customer churn. It's about increasing search ranking, increasing conversion rates. So you need to understand what you want to do with it and what does success look like. You need to create your budget. And this is a really interesting one because obviously, you know, we know what the application fee is. For a .brand, it's $227,500. That might seem a lot of money, but to some organizations, that's a marketing spend maybe for 1 or 2 campaigns for a week or 2 weeks. You also have to think about the fact that you're buying an asset. If you went out and bought a new machine for a factory, or you bought a new truck for your business, you depreciate that asset over a period of time in your accounting. You can do exactly the same with your .brand. It can be depreciated over a period of time. You sign an initial contract with ICANN for 10 years, but at the end of that 10 years, you renew it, you don't pay the fee again. So you can depreciate that fee over a period of time. But it's really important that you start thinking about that budgeting now. And what are the milestones? Where do you want to start seeing the costs and things like that? And finally, you've got the communication part. Communication is about creating a clear journey for those internal stakeholders, customers, and about just making sure that everybody is coming on the journey with you. Because if they're coming on the journey with you, then that enables everyone to buy in, and you reduce that problem where you've had with a lot of TLDs, where 3, 4, 5 years down the line, nobody has a home for them, and they end up getting deleted, which is a bad thing. So we're just seeing if we can pull up the other slide. No, that's okay. Thank you, Renee. Right, so. Oh, no. No?
It's the old deck.
Yeah, still the old deck, yeah. Okay, fine, no worries. All right, apologies, we'll send around the deck and you'll see there's the case study of E. Leclerc, and there's also one about digital first companies. So things like fintech companies and some ideas about what fintech companies might want to bring to the table. But any questions, obviously, I'm around, my colleagues are around that you can talk to later, but thank you very much.